You're listening to They Bite, and I'm Mick Strawn, mayor of Grover's Bend. You may have heard of Grover's Bend. It's the town that we use in Critters 2. These guys suck. We're stuck listening to them. So, I don't know. There are so many other things that you could be doing with your time right now, but you're here. So listen up.
Who are we going to call? Critter Busters?
Dad's all torn up and Mom's got like a harpoon thing in her neck and they're getting bigger.
They'll eat anything.
Those, man-eating hairballs that you do not believe in.
Critters. They bite.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of They Bite, the only and best Critters podcast in the world. And who do we got today, Chris? You introduce him. I did the intro. You do the intro of him.
Okay, we have a very special guest today, guys. You might know him from such movies as you probably don't know him at all, because he is the set town designer for Critters 2.
Boom.
His name is Mick Strawn, and we have a special interview with him, so here you go, guys. All right.
Sorry, I'm looking up something. I was going to look up Critters 2 on IMDb real quick. Okay. IMDb, 2.5 stars? What the hell's wrong with these people?
I agree.
I mean, don't they know? Really, that's a great film. I just saw this recently.
I see it almost every day.
Really?
I watch this movie almost on a daily basis, pretty much. At least one of the 4 films.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Look, somebody has to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect response.
Yeah.
So you just watched it back recently?
Yeah. I was, it's funny because I was, I had just been talking to Lynn Shea a while back, and we just got into discussing the town and stuff, and she kept bringing up things that I didn't even remember.
I love Lynn Shea.
You always remember things from different point of view when you're the production designer, because when you go back and you talk to people that you were working with 30 years later, well, first of all, you're no longer directly involved in. I'm no longer directly involved in Hollywood, so I haven't had to, lie all day long for a long time. You think that's funny, really? That is such.
It's funny. It's funny because I know that it's so true.
It is so true. There is no business like the film business. The thing is after a while, if people goes, well, you can't all be lying all the time, and I go, oh, you don't understand. When you say the truth, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and everybody looks at you and says, you really want to say that? I mean, did you really? Because, that's pretty close to the truth. And I mean, it's like, I'll give you an example. If you're on the set and you're holding everything up, and the first AD comes to you and says, how long is it going to be? And if you say half an hour, they're going to go, really? You're going to stick to that? And I go, yeah, because that seems close to the truth. If you say 10 minutes, everybody groans because we all know 10 minutes is a lie.
Exactly.
10 minutes it's like code for it'll be done when it's done.
10 minutes is the longest hour ever.
Yeah, I am currently shitting myself, and when that's over, then we'll start counting, right? So,
I guess we can go ahead.
And what do you want from me?
What do we want from you? Honestly, I would just like to hear some stories from Critters 2 with you. I think it'd be an interesting perspective to get.
I have the best stories from Critters 2. Critters 2, they came to me. I was in between. I couldn't remember which films I was in between at the time, but I had a really good working relationship with a lot of people in New Line, and somebody calls me up and goes, "Oh, it was Philip Foreman." Philip Foreman goes, "Hey man, are you available? We have a problem here." And I go, "What is it?" Well, we had a Midwestern town that we were going to, film this film at that I'm working on, but they've had really inclement weather and they're under 2 feet of snow right now. See, this is something that people who are working in California never think about for the rest of the country. That the rest of the country has this thing, you may have heard of it, weather.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in New York, so yeah.
Californians they just cannot wrap their head around weather.
Down there in paradise.
Yeah, weather, and it's like they go, and Philip goes, and the thing is it's really unfortunate because they got 2 feet of snow. It isn't looking like the weather's getting any better. We're 5 weeks away from, and we're primarily filming outside in this town. So there's this empty space up on a hill, oddly enough, up in Bouquet Canyon, not far away from your house. That's like, okay. He says, "Can you build us a Midwestern town in, say, less than 5 weeks? We have to be filming on that town in 5 weeks."
That was insane.
And I said, yes. And that's not the, this is not the kind of question that you just say yes to. You say yes to while you're walking out the door. I'll meet you there in 5 minutes. So we get up there, and basically what we have is what you're looking at when you see the town is you're looking at the school teacher's parking lot for a school that you can't see. That's
really?
Over. You know where the press is? That row of buildings right there? That's the only row of buildings that was there. And that press is in a classroom that faces the other way.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a very 60s look. It's that long, low shed look, right? Single story, slightly pitched roof, very 60s classic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the final shot of the movie actually kind of shows the whole set from like a pan out distance, so I could picture it well.
Yeah, you could just see over there where the trees are over there. You could see where's the only trees out there. Other than that, this parking lot looked onto this enormous crowned field, and it was the top of Bouquet Canyon hill. And if you looked, and the thing that was really nice about it was that crown made it look like you were, because of the crown, you were skipping looking at the town of Canyon Country and the town of Soledad Canyon and the town of Newhall because of the way that hill is shaped. In other words, if you sat there and you pointed a camera out, you would see nothing but a field connecting to another field that's on the other side of the town. The town is kind of down in the valley, right?
Yeah.
So it's absolutely a perfect optical illusion, and we filmed it absolutely the perfect time of year. In late fall, as you come into late fall, you get this maybe a month and a half period in which you get a green grass in California.
Okay.
And that's why everything's green and beautiful and stuff like that. It's like they were filming within that golden California month and a half. Because after that, everything's frozen and funky. And before that, it's all burnt up from the sun.
Now,
yeah. Go ahead.
was the let's see, there were a few buildings outside of the town a bit, like Mr. Quigley's house. Help me out here, Chris. How far were those actually built from the set?
Well, that was a funky, Mr. Quigley's house was on a location, and I don't know where that location was. I was not involved with.
Oh, so that actually was a location, okay.
Right. But the things that were locations were that, Lynn Shade's house, the antique, the place where they find the eggs, that antique.
Yeah, I guess I considered that Mr. Quigley's house.
Right.
I just figured he lived there.
But the thing that you notice is you'll notice that they aren't connected in any way to the town. They're just, you're just there.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like they just take like a path that leads to nowhere but there.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Probably gave us a couple more days to actually finish up the freaking town and let the paint dry.
Yeah.
So what we did is we built a row of facades behind and attached them to those buildings that were already there, and we did the primary location in that classroom, which was the printing press office.
Okay. So
my office was a little bit further down, and like I say, everything faced the other way. We just happened to use the buildings to support the facades. Now in the middle, we built a block of buildings, and those buildings were just like just put together like you would a cardboard puzzle. In other words, they boom just leaned up, and tarped in the middle so that you couldn't see that they weren't actually. And then we built the church, and I think that there was an old maintenance garage that was part of the facade on the other side, over by a little bit past the Happy Cow or Happy Heifer or whatever they called it.
It's a Hungry Heifer.
The Hungry Heifer, right? Where we put a little bit of a row of facades there, and they were tied onto a maintenance shed that was the interior of the cheeseburger slaughterhouse.
Okay.
That's where that explosion was. Okay. And then the church was at the end of town. We built that from scratch too. And in one of the earlier drafts of the script, we were actually going to blow up the church, which is why the church was so perfectly attuned to be right there, so that you could get this perfect shot of it with the town.
I didn't know that.
It was like in the center. It was like in the center of the town.
Right. It's like you could see it from every road, from the two roads of the town. They converged back onto the. They kind of started together at the Hungry Heifer, and then did a tulip shape and came back together, with the church at the other end, which is a really nice little. It's a nice configuration to not know how big the area is that you're in. You know what I'm saying? You always have something at the end of your point of view. It's not just like the streets just open and it's a field.
Right.
So that was the way that we designed it. So literally Philip and I sat down back to back in his little shed down in Venice, and literally it was this little tiny shed that he used for doing art. And I had my drawing board in, I brought my drawing board in, and he had his in, and we had to agree that the two of us couldn't stand up at once because we smashed our chairs together. So, so we took a week and sat down and drew all the facades, just taking, barely measurements off everything that was up there. We said, well, this is going to be the primarily home of the cheeseburgers. This is where the church is going to go, and we just drew it out. I can't even tell you who did what.
How much freedom did you have on designing what they actually looked like?
Oh, Philip and I we didn't ask anybody. We didn't have time to ask anybody. And we were just making it generic Midwestern town.
Huh.
That's all they
if you're a production designer in Los Angeles and you can't do generic Midwestern town, you ain't worth your weight in.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it wasn't too much of a task to really ask them.
No.
But how do you feel about the movie watching it back after all these years?
I have to tell you, and you know what? Did you guys listen to my podcast version of this?
I did, yes.
Critters too? Yeah. Like I said, in that, I said, if you updated the effects, it would be a great. It would be right back, just looking like everything that you would want it to be. It would be a perfect retro film.
Yeah, I agree. If you had take out the digital gunfire and explosions and stuff like that, then I think it would look great.
If you put in a spaceship that actually moved like it was a spaceship, and you can even save the interior of the spaceships. I mean, that was great. The only thing is, literally, it's just the digital part of it, and we used the word digital wrongly there because it wasn't. It was, they were blue screen model shots, but that was before you did digital things. In fact, most of the effects that I saw on that were a rotoscope.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Okay. That makes sense. Looking at the end of that movie there, whenever they have the two Charlies that are circling each other, you can kind of tell that it's been, digitized a little bit.
Yeah, well, over the years, I'm sure it's been digitized enough so that you can get that's one thing that when you go back and you digitize a film from the 80s or something like that, you get a lot of you get digital ghosts. You ever seen that where you see the color and then you actually see kind of looks like the edge of a cloud and the edge of a cloud, the edge of a cloud.
Yeah.
I mean that's. Trust me, it didn't look that way originally. It's just for some reason the digital transfers that were done in the early '90s kind of added a lot of that element to it, And sometimes you get some that are just really horrible.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And the thing is let's face it, New Line Cinema has made some really, really awful transfers of their prints over the years.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I would say
and,
some of that would be probably Warner Brothers' fault, though, once New Line was bought out by Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, bitches.
So, when you were on set building all the sets and everything, how much involvement did you have having to build sets working around the critters to destroy?
Working around the critters? Well, I'll tell you something. The Kyoto brothers, and I think you probably heard the story if you listened to the other podcast.
I haven't, so yeah.
The Kyoto brothers weren't one of my favorite bunch of people.
Really?
Yeah, they were snooty, and the thing about makeup effects people is that they have to try really hard to actually deal with human beings, which they don't have to do a lot. Most of them. I mean, you had Howard Berger, who was great to deal with, of K&B. Kevin, I can't think of his name, who did the effects for Freddy and stuff.
Kevin Yeager?
Yeah, Kevin Yeager. I mean, you had some guys that were really good at talking and dealing with other people, and then you had people like the Quieros. The Quieros would come up and start experimenting and start working out the kinks on some of their stuff they would bring up, and they would use our equipment, and they'd screw stuff up, and they'd blow up a generator of mine, and blah, blah, blah. But the funniest thing that they did was when they first came up, they were doing an experimentation of the rolling ball. The big rolling ball critter?
Oh, of course, yes.
Right. Now, the first one that they did, it was about the size of the last one, of the one that you see, but it was made out of aluminum, and it actually rolled on the ground, which they made. In the end, they did kind of several different versions of them, one of which was pretty close to being a weather balloon with a bunch of critters glued to it.
Oh,
and the other one was on an axis that was more of a critter's ball point of view, where they could shoot over the edge of it, right?
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that, I believe.
You've seen pictures of that. You've seen pictures of that one, for sure.
Yeah.
The first one that they brought up, the first concept of it, and the thing is makeup effects people deal with rubber a lot.
Yeah.
They deal with molds and masks and stuff like that. And I know because I've done a lot of that stuff myself. But I also, am really good mechanically. And I saw this armature that they brought up, which was, this aluminum large critter, and they glued all the critters to it, and they were going to roll it down the hall for a test, roll it down a hill for a test up there. And I grabbed all the guys because it looked to me like it was, that tattoo that says "Born to Ride," and I was like, wow, this is born to fail.
Yeah, yeah. You just wanted to see the failure.
Oh, dude, it was probably one of the it's in the top 20 things that I'm so glad in my life that I saw. Because they're rolling it down the hill, and the first thing is that they're in they're in the grass. You're on a hill, right? Everywhere that you see is on a hill. And I think that they were standing on a hill already and thought to themselves, well, we need to find a hill in order to roll this down. See what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I think that they rolled it down a hill that was that much of a hill, more than the hill that they thought that they weren't standing on. And we were pretty used to this at this point. And boy, they started rolling that thing, and they lost control of it probably in 20 feet. And it just started rolling towards the town. I mean, and I don't mean our town. I mean, it started rolling towards Canyon Country, and it's picking up speed. And as it picks up speed, it starts to get smaller, and it starts to hop because it's bent. And every time it hops, it bends it more. And so now it's like loping up, and every time it lopes up into the air, critters are flying left and right. And left and right. Oh my God! I could hardly get anybody to go back to work for at least an hour afterwards because they were laughing so hard. And I swear to God, it finally stopped on its own because it looked like a flattened out beach ball. Maybe with two critters left on it.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Holy shit.
I wonder if there's any pieces of those critters still laying out in that field.
Yeah,
Probably.
we got to go to that field, dude.
Yeah.
Give us the address to that field.
It was hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
It was a good time had by all, I have to say. So anyway, that was yeah. I never had I so perfectly calculated the moment when I got everybody together to look. You don't get that. all that.
There's got to be footage, right?
Well, this is a long time ago. This is not the days where everybody had a camera and.
Yeah, it wasn't all disposable either. It was
Yeah, exactly. Well, there certainly was nothing on film of that. And the thing is somebody would have really had to. And I don't think, in all honesty, I don't think that they thought it would work either. I don't think they had any concept of how bad it was going to go. But I don't. I don't think. It was one of those things where you always had to pick your battles, and you had to say, I'm going to test this, but I'm not going to film it because I have a career. And there's a chance that if I film it, that'd be the end of it.
Yeah.
So,
oh, man.
We carpenters got to see that. That was just great.
It's kind of like right out of the movie, a giant critter ball rolling down the hill ready to hurt someone.
Oh, yeah.
Only it's fucking.
and by the way, as much as I'm bad mouthing them and all, it's in good fun. But B, they did a couple of great things. I mean, to me, the best thing that they did was when the ball rolls over the guy.
Oh yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that was the scene when I was a kid. Someone came up and was like, "You have to watch this movie," and they told me about that specific scene. Up until that scene, you could have figured that this was just the Gremlins cousins. Yeah, sure.
and then you see that scene and you go, oh yeah. No,
yeah, we've discussed this before. I mean, there's really not too much gore in the movie at all.
No, but when they did it really well. yeah, that was a lot of fun. So, what else? I honestly, in going back and looking at it, I'm surprised at how good everything looks. I remember that we had problems with the. What was the name again that we want? I'll tell you why I have trouble remembering the name of the restaurant. Okay.
Hungry Heifer.
The Hungry Heifer. Here's the thing. We had so many names for it that kept getting knocked down by legal.
Really?
Let's hear him.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember them. That's the thing.
Oh.
One after I mean, I think that we were coming up with the Sacred Cow. Came up once, and we were it was enough to drive you nuts. Honestly, it was a list that we thought was going to be that we gave them 10 names to search, right?
Yeah.
And they all came back as being somewhere back east, in down south, that there was a restaurant by that name. Right?
How the fuck was he even finding this out back then?
Back then, the lawyers, they would go to patent lawyers who would, that would be collecting that sort of information. Right?
So you're telling me there's a restaurant somewhere called the Sacred Cow?
Yeah, we got to go there, dude. We got to go to that field and then the Sacred Cow.
Honestly, just almost every damn thing that you can think of. I don't, and we came up, and I think the Hungry Heifer came up like as honestly, I think it was like 190, and we were just getting freaking desperate. I mean, it was like we didn't get signage built until like.
I think it's kind of beautiful how dedicated you were to this fucking joke.
Well,
I mean, I love the movie, but.
You have no idea what blind dedication and a movie. I mean, really, movies have people that are dedicated because I got out there. We made that town with probably 15 people in 5 weeks, and I'm not kidding. Everything that you see was constructed, absolutely everything, and it looks really good.
It looks fantastic. I actually thought it was a real town when I was a kid growing up. I always wanted to visit that place.
Yeah, but him and I both fell for that because at the end it kind of says it thanks to people with Grover's Bend. And I mean, we were both born in '87, you know, so we were just young enough to be seeing these movies and like really believing that shit, you know.
Well, you know, I was always tagged for doing big things for no money, and I look at guys every once in a while. I just for the entertainment of it, I'll look through locations that I built and then tore back down, and that get credit as being somewhere else because somebody wants to go on a tour and see, like the house for Leatherface.
Yeah.
Leatherface. I think I built that house, and I built that gas station. And I built the gas station that are those two things that are in the film. Actually, I built everything. It's not this freaky thing, man. I like to build everything because I'm picky. As a designer, I was more of just the Brenda Phillips that got dragged into that over there. Actually, I think my credit on the film, if I'm not mistaken, was as a resident of the town.
Wow.
We'd like to thank the people of Grover's Bend, and then they named 10 people, and that was me and my crew.
That's an awesome credit, though.
It's an unusual one. I didn't need a construction coordinator credit in my career.
It doesn't really promote you at all, does it?
Yeah, I mean, give me much further.
It's cool for Chris and I. We're like, oh, it's an obscure reference we now know, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do meaning it, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll milk it for you, dude.
You know, it was the first of a long string of like credits that people were just weird, you know.
Was this your only movie with like animatronic puppets?
Oh God, no.
Okay.
Oh my God, no. I can't. You know, I can't remember what else, but
you probably did some in Freddy's Nightmares, didn't you?
Yeah, you know, I've worked with every kind of special effect that you could possibly imagine, and will never be done again. So, yeah. No,
but should be done again. It should be.
Yeah. You know, and you know, it's a big thing when you're doing the building of it and knowing how to do that, knowing, knowing that you don't bring a white carpet onto the set. Because take two then becomes a bitch. And so then you need 5 of those, you know, because there's going to be blood on the carpets. Knowing that I can't put a $10,000 sofa on a high-end set if I'm going to have a puppeted creature there, because even if they say they're not going to, they're going to cut holes through your sofa. Knowing that, for instance, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, I came in and set up a lot of the effects for it, and I made a stage floor for, they needed to move fast, and they had a lot of puppet work in it, and I literally built a 3-foot subfloor over. They had drainage problems. You know, the stage was an old noodle factory, and so all of the floors drained to one spot, and it was a huge slope, and so we went over it, and they wanted to level it out. I said, great, well let's level it out, but we got a lot of special effects in here, so let's add 3 feet and then level it out. So then everybody kept thanking me, going, oh, this is a great idea because we can get underneath here and then, you know, get up. So you gotta know how, you know, you see, if you're going to build something, you know that you can build it better for what you need to do.
Now, we've joked around before. The final scene where Charlie comes back, in the background, it seems like nobody's paying attention to him. Are people just breaking down the set in the background of that shot while they're pretending to rebuild the town?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're probably trying to get the hell out of there. You know.
Sounds about right. Okay. Yeah, we've joked about it before.
You know, we knew that we couldn't leave that standing. We had to pull it all down. Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't pull it down. I'm not to be honest with you, that's not my gig. I mean, I built it up.
You don't get to break it? Oh, man.
Dude, on to other things by that point. If I'm still hanging around by then, I'm having an employment problem.
Well, yeah, it makes sense.
But let me give you a couple things that are really funny about the building of it, though. There's a couple of moments, as it were. We built the church, and the thing is we were building and landscaping and decorating all at the same time. It's like it was being painted in age. If you stood still for any period of time, there was a good chance that you would get sprayed painted, and then somebody would come over and aid you, and then somebody would hang a painting on you. So it was a good thing to just try and keep moving as much as possible. But one time while we're working on the church, that big window that was in the front of the church, right?
Yeah.
We built the church, we painted it, then we built the window in a shop that was in one of those classrooms that I told you about there over to the left.
Yeah.
And so the window was done and then painted, and it was kind of one of the last things we put in, but they had already put the grass down. And the grass wasn't going to last that long anyway, because there's a couple of patches of like actual grass there in front of the church, and like across the street from the Hungry Heifer, there's a little park that's done in a like a pointed shape, like bullet nose kind of shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can picture it. Yeah.
Now, and the thing is I know for a fact that they had to replace all the grass. I mean, I would have painted it, but it wasn't my choice because it all died off. Because nobody would water it or care. We're not that good at maintaining things. I mean, anything that has to live more than 2 weeks is just going to have to take its chances. So they put down sod the day before. We put the window in, and the only way that we were going to do that was kind of like with a forklift, right?
Yeah.
So what we did instead is we took that huge window and we hung it on the side of a condor. You know what a condor is? It's a basket lift.
Okay.
Okay. And the one that we used had an 80-foot arm, right? And so we kind of attached it to the side of this basket lift and put it on the side of the church, the basket over there where the parking was for the church. So it's over in the parking lot, and to tell you the truth, we were swinging right over the grass where the sheriff had his hatch piece hanging out.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we were to the left of that and swinging out the window in over another 80 feet over here. And so we're on the wind, and we come back around, and we pick it up and swing it in. And somehow or other, we got the oldest condor with the most play in the snorkel part of it. And it kind of did this whiplash thing. And we were aiming the window in, right? And we come in from about 5 feet out, and it takes a 5-foot slat. We tried to stop it at 5 feet, but it had that much play in it. And it went all the way in. The window set itself in.
Oh, man.
The arm kept going, and the arm was like right in the middle of the window where, all the plastic was. And we did use pieces of plastic. And so he and I, it was kind of like a Magnum PI kind of stunt. He and I all of a sudden came through the window to where they're dressing and putting up the pews, and both of us rolled through a couple of pews.
Oh, man.
Holy crap.
And not the first stunt that I've done in my life unintentionally.
Did either of you get hurt during that?
Oh God, no. I mean, if you don't know how to survive something like that, you shouldn't be building things like that. I still know how to roll. I'm 61 and I still know how to roll.
Sounds pretty fun, man.
Yeah, it actually it was a hilarious time to have it all. I mean, it was a challenge, and you know, the thing is I've always been able to motivate people in a fun way to make things look great. You know, to go beyond. You know, whenever I brought people together, I could always, you know, I don't know that it was particularly me because I have a very we point of view. You know, we're going to do this. I don't ever say, I want you to go do this. I've never been good at being a dick boss. One time, as a matter of fact, we were out there, and I had a friend of mine, Ella Blakey. She was just this awesome woman, and just you know, strap on the bags and go out there, right? You know? And she was running for the very first time ever. I had like taken her up through being a PA and then a carpenter and a set dresser, and now I was letting her run a small part of the construction crew, right, as a lead person. And she became completely overwhelmed at one point. We were just a few days from being finished, and you know, everybody's nerves are on edge, and nobody's slept right, and you know, everybody's just really just tired. You know, just long hours, and having a deadline so that you know that you have to finish a certain amount in the day, or you're not going to make it. So you don't go home until that's done. And she goes out to the field on the edge of town, and the wind is whipping. The other thing that we had the late fall winds coming across that field, and they were between 50 and 70 miles an hour for a couple of days. We had to cut holes in the set to let the wind through, and then when it went down, we had to go back and plug those back up again.
Wow.
But she went over into this field, was just sitting and was just staring back at the church. And I went, so I went over and joined her, and we were both sitting in this field just looking at the church, and the wind just whips up to about 60 miles an hour, and we had a big fiberglass bell hanging in the steeple.
Yeah.
And the bell tore loose in this high wind and just went exactly parallel to the ground. And we just watched it go parallel to the ground and just fly and fly.
Oh my God.
Fly, and just become this little teeny dot. And she goes, I'm glad we got to see that together. And I said, yeah, well, we rented that bell.
That's an awesome moment.
We never saw that bell again.
No shit. We gotta go to that field, dude.
Yeah, if you ever get there, I think you just understand, the whole layout of the whole thing. You know, it was so much fun. But my best story is this. During filming, I think, they filmed for quite a few weeks, and I did some stuff. I think I was doing effects on Mr. Christmas Dinner or something like that. And being as it was effects, I wasn't working every day. And I got a call from Marty Breslin. Marty Breslin says, hey, listen, I got a couple of explosions I have to do up there on that town that you built, and I'd love to have you come in and play assistant to me and help me string a couple of explosions, because I was operating as a 3-card, and I could help, the effects guys any day of the week. I was doing my own lead effects also, kind of a jerk of all trades. And so I go back up there, and we rig through the day, and we did the explosion. I think that we set up the big explosion where in front of the church, but that was going to be at night. And the other one happened, I think, just at dusk. And so that was going to fire off first. And so we're all rigged, and we had picked the, we led all of our wires back so that we could sit comfortably on the radio in the print shop. And we're in the print shop, just the two of us, and Marty gets to tell me a story. And he's got his radio beside him. And you know how you don't, you have a button box, right? And
Yeah.
the button box it's got the battery, and, you know, it's got either a series of buttons or it's got a nail board or something like that in order. And this is just a single button. And he brought the wires in, but you don't hook into that button. You leave everything shunted, wired together, okay? And everything's shunted. And he picks up the radio, and he goes, okay, we're ready to go. And then he goes back to telling me the story. And I hear on the radio, okay, prep, everybody's prepped, okay, cameras are good, okay, rolling. Speed on 1, speed on 2, speed on 3, speed on 4. Okay, action. And he's still telling me the story. And we're talking back and forth, and he goes, excuse me, picks up the radio, he goes, cut. We have a problem, okay, everybody just freeze. He goes over to the door, and he walks out, and he walks out, he picks the wire up, and he kind of shakes it a little bit, and he goes over, and he stands with his hands on his hips, and he consults with the director for a little bit, and everybody, and then he comes back, and he picks up the radio and goes, oh, okay, let's go. Then he goes back to his story. He's just, I can't even remember this day what we were talking about. You know, it was just this dumb, you know, it was just like this story. It was a dumbass story, right?
Yeah.
Story's still going along, speed, action. Story's still going along, just 1 minute here. Picks up the radio and goes, cut. I got to check this wiring room. And he goes, I'll be right back. And he goes back down and he's shaking the wire, which is really great. I mean, you know, the concept of him just shaking a wire, it was just hilarious to me. What the hell? I mean, if you thought about it, which I'm sure no one did, what good is shaking a wire going to do? As he's shaking the wire, and he goes back up, and he has another consultation with the director. And he walks back in, and he wires everything up. Speed, action! Whoa! There's just that silence afterwards. He turns to me and he goes, I just wanted to make sure they wanted it. Okay, well, there you go.
Well, he did make that special for everyone, didn't he?
He did. You know what? And the thing is he did make it special for everybody. Everybody could walk away and go, boy, you know, I was just wondering if we were going to get that shot, and then we did. And that's a good lesson in life. Sometimes it's the hype before, and it's how you present it.
Yeah.
You know, because he did make us all want it, and then he did give us what we wanted. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a junkie. I mean, because a junkie's the only person really, really in the world that only really, 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 really wants one thing and then gets it. Right?
As a pharmacist,
anyway,
yeah. No.
Yeah, there you go. So anyways, let's see. The last, and this isn't just an odd little story that goes with this. That goes with Critters too. When they had the they did the casting crew screening, and I think that they did it in Westchester area or something. And I drove and I went down there, and when I was walking out from the screening, Jack Shoulder, who's director of Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and The Hidden, came up to me, and we're old friends, and he said, "Hey, let me buy you dinner." And I go, "Oh, great." And we went over, and we're in a mall. And so we just walked down the mall and, pick a restaurant and walk inside and order and sort of sit there, and we're shooting the shit, and he was telling me that he thought the town looked great, and we were shooting. I was saying, the Hidden had come out really well, and blah, 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 and back and forth, and da-da-da. And a painter walks up from the show, right?
Right.
I think his name was Jeff. Jeff, I can't remember his last name. But so Jeff walks up, and he goes, "Hey guys, how's it going?" And he happened to walk up just as we're starting to sit down. We get seated at the table, right? And so he's there too, which was really weird because both me and Jack were like, okay, well, so this painter that just had worked on me on this show, and so there's the three of us, and we're sitting there, and basically he's not saying anything because Jack and I have a long history, and we're just talking back and forth, and at some point I said, "Well, you should have told him that was a Jack show." And the great thing about Jack is Jack would say his name, and whenever he did, he would tap his shoulder. Jack Shoulder. I have no idea why he would do that, but one thing I do have to say is I did always know how to spell his name. It's spelled like a shoulder, okay? So Jack Shoulder.
It makes sense. I'd do it.
Right? Wouldn't you if you could? If you could, you would, right? The thing about the film business is you always have this way of magnifying your own little weirdness because it's expected of you. I mean, Lord knows I started out as a weird person, and I became a really weird person over the years. So anyway, we kind of was sitting there, and I said, "Well, did you tell him it was a Jack Shoulder film?" And this guy, this painter, this day player goes, "Hey, is your name Jack?" And Jack goes, "Yeah, Jack Shoulder, right? Yeah." He goes, "I got a message for you." And we're both looking at each other going, "What?" And this guy's like eating soup, and at the same time he reaches into his back pocket and he opens up his wallet, and in that little, place in your wallet where, when you were 13 you used to put a rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah. That place. He reaches in and he pulls out this little tiny piece of paper and he hands it, and he very carefully unfolds it. It kind of looks like a magic trick.
What the fuck?
And he hands it to Jack, and he goes, "There, that's for you." And I thought, I swear to God, I'm not kidding. I didn't know the guy hardly. And I thought, he's doing a magic trick, isn't he? Right? He's doing a magic trick. And Jack reads the letter and he goes, "Oh my God." He says, "This is a letter to me from my friend at college, who's a professor, who is now a professor at some college back east, where this guy, Jeff, was his student from and he had a freaking thing in his pants pocket for 8 years."
Oh my God.
And it was Jack Shoulder. And the guy who wrote the note said, well, are you going to Hollywood? If you ever see this guy, Jack Solder, give him this note. Which he had it 8 years later.
Oh my fucking god! He had it like folded up so that it was like this, so like insanely small and everything.
Swear to God, finished his soup and then just walked away, and we were just like blown away. I gotta tell you, it was like difficult to actually say anything after that. You know,
It's
Dude,
like destiny.
Like,
That is one of the coolest
wow.
stories I've ever heard.
It was like so out of the blue, and you're like, okay, now that just doesn't happen to you every day, no matter who you are.
That guy needs a higher paying job now.
Just the presentation that he like made sure you saw that he kept it in his wallet, folded
Right.
up,
You know,
and then doesn't make a big deal out of it and walks away.
And here's what I'm saying is the guy, I mean,
I hope it was a Velcro wallet.
Exactly! The whole bit. I mean, all the way down. And he was dressed like a set painter would. I mean, the whole thing. I still to this day have no idea what to think of it. Because, you know, if the guy was new to setup and knew that this was a setup, it's an incredibly long setup.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's playing for the long cards, baby.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's very well. Very, 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 very weird. So, so now.
Well, that's very awesome, man.
That is some great stories.
Did you keep anything from the movie besides some awesome stories?
You know, the funny thing about that is that I would have had like a lot of photographs from that time and stuff, but I went to New Zealand to work on Hercules.
Mm-hmm.
I went there in late '93. Didn't get back until '95. While I was there was a little earthquake in Northridge, and you would not believe where all of my possessions were stored. Was in a storage unit at the direct epicenter of that. In fact, there were pictures of it burning and sliding into a canyon of the storage unit on the news that I had never seen since I was in New Zealand. And we came back. We came back from New Zealand and went to pick up all of our stuff and photographs and all the rest of that. And there was nothing there. And I mean, there was nothing there.
Wow.
Well, if we ever visit that field and we find that bell, we'll send it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the other thing is for like I've spent the last couple of years like kind of coming out of getting aware that I had a history. It's funny. It was Rachel Talalay told me 4 years ago when my sister died in an airplane accident, and I looked and I packed everything up because we used to work together on and off, and we had an office on the Santa Monica airport. And she was a pilot, and she had an accident and didn't make it. And I packed everything up and moved up to Washington. I just retired and moved up to Washington to be by my grandkids, one of which you heard in here. And the funny thing is at the funeral, Rachel Talalay kind of came up and said, you ought to think about your legacy at some point. And I was like, my legacy? I had not even a clue about what she was talking about. And then, over the last 4 years, I've realized that I had this odd touchstone way of being, like zelling, like in the right place at the right time for all these films that I just never knew at the time. It just had never occurred to me, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Roger Corman version of the Fantastic Four, I designed that.
Yeah.
You know,
It's amazing.
Critters 2, Mortal Kombat, Blade, Hercules, The Hidden, Witchboard, all these weird touchstone pictures that everybody goes, well, yeah, but that's when they did it really. That was when they really did it. The funny thing about it is at the time we were doing the best we could with no money and not getting paid very well, because we were with the.
Yeah.
The thing is at that time working in horror was like just barely a step above working in porn.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really, it's like it was so low down. It was like working in porn or being a lawyer. I mean, it was like horrible. And you always wanted, what do you want this time?
Yeah.
Oh. Right. Say hi. Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, hey.
They said go to bed.
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, I have no idea actually. Yeah. Okay. Bye. She loves my podcast, so that's she says that my podcast is hilarious because the guy Kurt Thomas, who I do the podcast with, she says he's smart, he's got a good voice, he does his homework, he's got a great pattern, and then there's you.
That sounds like me and Chris.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm just going to put this out there, because I'm an advertising kind of beast. Everything that I'm doing right now for my legacy, I have a podcast called Dream Warrior Review. Basically what it is we review a modern horror film or a modern sci-fi film, and then in the middle of the podcast, in the middle of us reviewing it, usually I'll remember one of these stories that is oddly, weirdly connected to that, and I'll start ranting and raving, and Kurt will spend, another 20 minutes trying to, get me back on the track again, and and for some reason it works,
It sounds like a bomb, man. I haven't heard it, honestly. It sounds like Chris has, but he hasn't shared it with me.
Yeah, I listened to the Critters 2 one, and Sean, I left you out on it because I wanted to let you hear this for the first time on our podcast. So.
Oh, you are a good friend after all.
So what did you think of my podcast?
I really enjoyed your podcast, and I thought that these were stories for Critters 2 that I'd never heard before, and I was super excited to listen to you tell these stories. And I actually haven't got a chance to listen to the one with William Butler yet, but I'm looking forward to that one too. I've met him a couple times at conventions, and he is a hilarious person.
He is hilarious. He and I have really we have an odd kinship in we both worked on Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I designed it, and he was in between the camera and my work. And that was supposed to be funny. But you guys didn't get that? He's in between the camera and my work. So anyway.
Over my head. I'm sorry.
You want to get that, huh? Great fake laughing. Anyway, so I've always got around with Bill and Kate Todd, and yeah, he did. His interview was hilarious. It was and then we just recently we're about ready to release an interview of his. We then went back and we reviewed Texas Chainsaw Massacre and his own little string of movies. The guy has directed so many things for Disney. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But he also worked with Charlie Brand and Full Moon Pictures.
Ghoulies too, right?
No. This is even that. But the great thing is you gotta check out Ginger Dead Man.
I have.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen it.
and the second and the third.
Yeah, it's one of the best worst movies made.
Oh, it is one of the best worst films ever. The second one is just joyous because it just so reminds me of working on ultra low budget films. It's a cracker. You couldn't get more meta than that film, you know. And to be that meta is Charlie Band is actually in the film, and he's the one that owns the company. So it's just really funny. So anyway, Dream Warrior review. I'm trying to get on to the con circuit, and I've been having middling luck doing that. I have an agent that he does something. But I actually am going to be up in Seattle at CryptCon, and I think I'm going to do the Salt Lake Horror Convention, and I do a bunch of film, Pacific Northwest film horror festivals and stuff. And I do a presentation where I comb through all my stuff and I put together clips and then I moderate the clips, and it's hilarious.
It sounds
really
awesome.
A lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, I get to stand up there. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I just run the clips, and then I go, oh well, this is this, and this is this, and so and so was here, and this and this, and I tell them, who went to the hospital, and who stayed, and all the rest of that. And it's a lot of fun.
I think it's awesome.
It's fun in my old age.
Well, I think it's awesome, man. I think it's great. You actually have a lot of stories because of that. You talk to people who are actually on screen in these films, and they don't really have many memories usually, it seems. So it's nice to actually talk to.
Here's the thing that I got to tell you, that the below the line guys have the great stories, and they never tell them. They never. Nobody wants to listen to them, and the thing is, to tell you that honestly, the only guys that are kind of in horror that are out there are the makeup effects guys, and not a lot of them actually can really talk. I mean, I'm one of the rare things is I can actually, I'm fairly personable.
Yeah.
And
are you saying special effects artists are autistic?
I think that I said artistic. but I nodded knowingly in the middle of it. Artistic. Nod, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You're gonna lay that rap on me.
Oh boy.
So anyway, I'm having a great retirement and just telling stories left and right. And I have my podcast, and I think that someday it'll actually be popular. But we only been doing it for about 4 months or so. So you guys are required to all start listening to my podcast for hours.
Yeah, I am going to definitely start listening to it.
I better see 2 new numbers on there.
Yeah.
I think I was the very first view on the YouTube version that you all had up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
How was that?
Perfect on take one.
That was so much better than I could have imagined.
Hold on, Mick. We got to go out there and shake the wire a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, get back to me on that.
Hey, thanks so much for doing this, man. We really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. I don't know what else to really say, honestly. It's been a real surreal experience for me to talk to anyone from this movie that I've more or less been obsessing over my entire existence. So
yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, of all movies, right?
Let me tell you something funny, though, is you just don't know, I mean, I've had people have me on on podcasts and start talking about Strays, right?
Oh, the made-for-TV cat movie. I love that film.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I'm telling you, I was so surprised about 6 months ago, or when I was doing an interview and somebody came in and said Strays, and we wound up talking about Strays for 40 minutes, and I was like, Strays of all things, you know, it was unbelievable. And sometimes you just, you know, I just can't tell what people absolutely adore. You know, Tales from the Dark, just some weird, obscure things. You know, I mean, I
just can't believe you worked on Strays. I'm fucking like, whoa.
I built that house.
Oh my God.
I built that house so that we could film out there, and it was in Topanga. I got great. You know what? If you want to come in sometime and call me, we can do a whole thing on Strays.
Oh, definitely. That's going to be our next podcast, Strays.
Yeah, we would do that for sure.
If you want to do that in a couple of months, I mean, call me up, because Strays had some hilarious stuff in it. Because look at what you were dealing with. You had a TV movie budget, okay? You had 30 cats. You had twins. You had rain and weather and makeup effects. And it's just absolutely everything that could possibly go wrong. You're just set in that direction.
It sounds like you could make a movie about making that movie. It'd probably be just as entertaining, actually. I'm just picturing.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like that movie actually scared me. But now that I'm picturing it.
I swear, people go to me and they go, yeah, that's where I learned my fear of cats.
Okay, I wouldn't take it that far.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, fear of cats? Huh? I think that might have been a pre-existing condition. You know?
Oh my God! Like, well, I don't know. I wasn't afraid of spiders until I saw Arachnophobia. So I don't know. And then I grew up and I rewatched it and I was like, oh, this is a fucking good comedy. It's no horror.
Yeah, no, it was a comedy. Yeah, but that's the weird thing about Strays is people aren't looking at it as a comedy. It was a scary movie, and it was well acted. You have to look at the frickin' cast for it. You know,
yeah.
I mean,
Timothy
Busfield.
Yes, Busfield, yeah.
Busfield. Claudia Christensen. I can't think of. Yeah, it was just absolutely a stellar cast, and it was. David Cassidy did the Sean Cassidy, David Cassidy's brother. You know, the David Cassidy from the Partridge Family, and he did the original. He wrote the original script, and I get to meet him and his brother and the mother and all the rest of that. It was great.
And that's going to be a good podcast in a couple months.
Yeah, I really appreciate you up for that.
Yeah, there you can branch out a little bit.
Yeah, we've actually had a few people tell us that they want to hear us talk about more than just Critters, but I don't know. Yeah. Critters is kind of a passion for us. We don't know if we really can talk too much about other movies.
Yeah, we don't have anything else in common. No.
Well, it's a pretty narrow audience, you know. But you know what? You're right. It is a really good series, and like I say, in watching it recently, I just really liked it a lot. You know, it had a true that, and the thing is look at the films that are coming out now. It had that Stranger Things feel to it. You know that.
Absolutely. I was just saying. I think that they're bringing that back, where it's almost like a kid adventure horror movies and everything. You know.
Right. And you know, we actually, one of the very first of those actually was Dream Warrior.
Sure. Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3. You know, I mean, get together a group and fight the bad guy.
Exactly. Yeah, and give all the kids character traits, make them all relatable, you know, in a sense. Yeah, sure.
Exactly, yeah. And then it just exploded from there.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, look, it's been a blast. I'm going to go out and see if my grandchildren are still alive.
Okay, man.
All right.
We really appreciate it, dude. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you so
Okay,
much.
man. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.